There we go. Okay, now let me open this up. Here they come. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. Just making sure I don't got anybody in waiting room jail. Looks like they're all coming in.
Thanks
Good to
for
see
letting
you
me in.
guys.
Going on, Wayne?
Hi, guys.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Lane.
Hey, how you doing?
Wayne's finishing up his lunch.
Snack.
Yeah, good to see you, man. Maestro's on there twice. How's it going, Nick?
Doing well, doing well.
Well, we're right at the top of the hour, so let's, I know we got a lot more registered for this than that, so like I always say, we want to be respectful of your time, so I'm not going to wait very long. I'll give him just another half minute, and we're going to turn it over to Brandon. I'm excited for today. Yeah. Oh, we got Mr. Wayne Sutton in the room. How are you, Wayne?
I am good. I'm good. Trying to figure out my own iPad. I'm good.
Good to have you. Hey, Alex. Hey, Shantae. Sherry.
Hey.
Well, hey, Brandon, I want to get going here. I'm just going to introduce you real quick, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. Like I said, I just want to kind of get going as close to the top of the hour as we can. So a lot of you know Brandon. That's why you're here. Brandon has been a friend of mine for several years, and I'm excited to have him kind of share his knowledge on this topic, because he tends to, and I tease him all the time because he tends to dive deep into things. Once he gets an interest in something, he really figures it out. He likes to know all aspects of it, whether he uses it all or not. So I know he's kind of whittled it down for you guys on all the stuff that he studied that he doesn't need to know, and all the things, or the minimalist things that you guys need to know if you're really interested in creating a brand for yourself and using podcasts to do that. I think it's, I personally don't have a podcast, but I'm leaning towards thinking we might someday. As long as I don't need Lynn's buy-in. Right? So Brandon, we're excited to have you. We're going to go 45 minutes, maybe an hour, but we'll try and end towards the top of the hour for sure. And then, as you guys know, the second phase of our training, we're going to go in and do a brief overview of our EXP model. I know we have some people coming in just for that. So Brandon's in Las Vegas. Brandon is actually my sponsor in EXP. I met him in a different real estate mastermind group. Just an awesome guy. We're excited to learn from him. So Brandon, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you just kind of add anything else you want about your background and why you're talking about podcasting, and go from there.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. So this course was kind of, our class, or whatever you want to call it, was kind of built out of not necessarily necessity, but I watched two guys speak from stage, a coach by the name of John Cheplack, and then Brent Gove, who many of us know, a couple years ago. And both of them within the same month, both conferences were here in Vegas, and I just happened to go, and both of them, it felt like they were just staring like right at me when they said this, but they said, you need to come from a place of contribution. And when they said that to me, I was like, God, how can I do this? What can I do that does come from a place of contribution? And then I thought about, okay, how can I teach people? Like my podcast, I'll throw out the right now. It's the Learn for Two podcast. The idea is to learn with the intent to teach to others. So when I was trying to figure out what could I do to like give back to other people, was the very first podcast I had took me 4 to 8 hours to do each episode. It was like a nightmare. And I was like, oh my, it's so long. I was having people cancel on me. It just became a mess to where I had 34 final episodes, I think it was. And now fast forward to what I'm going to teach you guys is that the way that I do it now, I have 271 episodes, I think. I did 5 a week for 1 year. I committed for 5 a week for 1 year. And I'll tell you what, you learn a lot about yourself when every single day you have to figure out what are you going to talk about. Not saying everyone should do 5 days a week. It's not that easy, but I was already at the time I was journaling anyway. So I just turned that journal from pen to paper, from my voice to the mic is basically what I did. So we'll get here. I got I'm going to kind of blow through some of this stuff like statistics and things like that. I want you guys to walk out of here and go, okay, now I know what I need, and I'm going to throw up an episode tonight if you want. So I will go ahead and share my screen here. And then let me know. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes. Hey, Brandon,
Yeah,
let me
we
just
do.
add right here. We were talking a little bit before I opened up the waiting room and let people in. Brandon's kind of designed this to where he should answer a lot of your questions. So not that you can't interrupt. If you need him to go a little bit deeper on something he's talking about at the moment, feel free to do that. Use the chat or just save it to the end. But he's kind of laid this out in a way where he kind of knows. He's taught this class live to groups in Vegas quite a bit, and he kind of knows the questions that are going to come up. So I'll probably cover most of them. Is that okay to say, Brandon?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, interrupt whenever you want. I'm trying to make this as simple as easy as possible. It was designed to remove the cost and any any tech worries out of anybody from getting this started. So number one is in the App Store. If you download Anchor app, you can. This is where you're going to record and host, and you can do this on Anchor.fm or the Anchor app. So already, one of the things I had to do before was record it, put it to iTunes, give it a name, bring it back out, convert it to this file, and then put it into Libsyn, which is a syndicating software. So what this does is automatically syndicates to these 8 spots. And actually, I believe they've added a couple as well since this slide. At the bottom here, you're going to see, here's the Learn for Two podcast. This here, you're going to hear me say multiple times, done is better than perfect, or take imperfect action daily. And this is the prime example. I've talked to Jeff about this before. I made this in 45 minutes. This is my album, or my cover art for the podcast. I made it in about 45 minutes, and it was on Canva. And the reason I did it was because I needed to get it out right away. I showed it to my kids, like, oh, that's pretty cool, Dad, but what's Learn for Z? So now I've changed, I've kept it. I could have a new design for it. I really can. But for the purpose of this class is I want people to throw all the objections they have out and go here, this is done is better than perfect. This is not by no means a perfect cover art. So take that. And as you continue to go through, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. All right. So I was at a Grant Cardone event I guess about a year now. But he said this up there. He said, you can't change your life if you don't change your environment. And this, for real estate agents, isn't necessarily something that we gravitate towards, is creating something like a podcast. Usually we want to, we call our coach and they say, dial up your SOI, knock on doors, cold call, like all this stuff. But this is a complete different vehicle to get your message across to your possible clients. So here, I wanted to get this. Hopefully you guys can hear this. But has anybody seen Finding Nemo before? The cartoon? Okay, so hopefully this plays for you. But I see this all the time in Facebook groups. Like somebody says, hey, does anybody know an agent? Boom, everyone's like, me. Hammer, like this, me, I'm the greatest. I'm so good. So I don't know if you can hear this, but this is what it reminds me of. So did you hear that at all? If you know that part of the movie where it's like, oh, me. That's constantly in our industry. We're constantly asking for people or asking for business and not delivering anything. It's just, hey, and I apologize to anybody who has this in their signature, email signature, but the best compliment you can pay me is your referral. Again, you're asking for something. You're not delivering anything other than just asking. And with a podcast, you are delivering to people, and they can actually find you whenever they want. I'm not going to play this video, but this is Gary Vee in 2008. He was talking about how you are now your brand. and basically how you are your own media company. Like people are going to find you whether or not you want them to, online on, they're going to Google you when they find out your name. They're going to look you up on Facebook, and they're going to look at your stuff. So it's your choice how you're going to move forward with that. Here's another thing. I heard someone say that they've been to more funerals for real estate agents than retirement parties. And that kind of freaked me out. Two things that told me is that, one, real estate agents are not really set up for a retirement plan. And two, agents will likely create a revenue stream that's either in addition to or to replace their real estate business. So if you are always constantly, this kind of goes into always talking about just real estate on your podcast. And we'll get into that a little bit more. Two main reasons most people are afraid to start a podcast is, one, they're not interesting. Two, they don't think they're interesting. Two, they think they're not techy enough. I'll show you how you can have this set up in 1 hour, and you can launch an episode tonight if you want. So basically, little story about my friend. He was 26 years old. I met him about 5 years ago, and I'd known him for a few years before he told me this story. But we're sitting out at a barbecue by his pool, and he's like, "Yeah, I used to work out like 4 or 5 days a week. Sometimes twice a day. And then we'd go out, and I went out and played football one time. I got tackled around the neck. And then he went home, and he had a blood clot, had a stroke. He had to learn how to walk, talk, feed himself, all this stuff. It took him like a year to get back to normal. And now you wouldn't even know that happened. Well, in that conversation, I said, "I want you on my podcast." He goes, "I'm not that interesting." And I'm like, "Did you hear the story that you just told me? Like that's pretty interesting from an athlete to an infant like that. And you had to, regain all this stuff." So I share this story because I guarantee every single one of you has a story that someone needs to hear. For instance, like it's later it's posted on my wall, but I'll share it later in here. But you have something to share, and it's not necessarily just marketing statistics of what's going on in your market. And I'll tell you a couple other stories as well moving forward. Again, done is better than perfect. Like I'll tell you when we get to the tools and the equipment needed for your podcast, you'll realize how simple it is. So podcasts, I'm pretty sure everyone knows what they are. They are, we'll talk about what they are, who listens to them, why create one, and how do we start one. And I'm going to go pretty quick through this so we can get a little more hands-on here in a second. So podcast, basically an on-demand radio show. It's audio, not video. And the reason that I say this is I have people tell me, "Hey man, I watched your podcast. I like to watch your podcast." And typically most of it's not on video. So I kind of know they're lying. But anyways, it was a good try. But anyways, it's on-demand radio show. These are the 4 main types of podcasts you can have. And I'll give you some pros and cons of it. Interview-based. Interview-based is really good because you can tap into other people's audiences like right away. That's the upside of it. And you can create relationships much quicker with each person that you interview. The challenge, though, as I mentioned earlier, where I just had people canceling on me, was you are dependent solely on that person being available when you are and not canceling on you 2 hours before, which has happened many times. Single host, you can do this stuff. It's just by you talking about your statistics, updates, things like that we talked about. Storytelling. So this was my second podcast that I did. It was called The 1% Journey, and I was writing daily. Wayne Purser knows about this. We're writing daily, and I wrote something like 168 straight stories on Facebook. And what I ended up doing was just reading those. And then I realized how bad I sucked at reading from paper to be recorded. So I kind of took that and kind of married this journal style where you're building an attractive character and getting people to understand who you are. So I kind of married actually all 3 outside of the statistics. I don't talk much about like actual, like the housing market or anything like that. But I do interviews now. I incorporated interviews, storytelling, and also journaling into it. So that 1 year of podcast was an attempt to document my journey as well. Here's just some stats. One of the things here is the benefit. This is what I like to look at here. That's 49% listen at home, and what Tony Robbins calls net or no extra time. People can listen to your podcast while they're driving. This is where I think that has value over video. And not saying video doesn't have value, because a bonus tip that I have is however many podcasts you do, as many as you can record on video, do as many of those as you can, because you can just take the audio from that video and put it and make that your podcast. For my book that just came out, I did review, or not reviews, but recaps and summaries of each chapter. And what I did is I did a video of that. So you can go watch a video of it, but I also pulled the audio and put that directly into my podcast. So now I had 17 episodes like that I didn't have to re-record for that. But anyways, at 49%, listen at home, or 22% listen in the car while they're working out, doing the dishes, whatever. So again, here's why create a podcast. Build relationships. One of my favorite is your podcast never sleeps, gets sick, or goes on vacation. So somebody can find you on your podcast at 3 a.m. and listen to a couple different episodes and get into it and understand, like, okay, this is what this person's about. And the benefit, I was actually on a Clubhouse call earlier before I got into this, if everyone knows what Clubhouse is. But they were talking about getting reviews and things like that. And one of the benefits of this is when you people start to find you right here, like, you don't really know what you're getting in a 5-star review. Everyone loves a 5-star review, but somebody's going to know way more about you in listening to a 5, 10, even 25-minute podcast of who, like, what you're about. Not necessarily, oh, I sold a home, this person gave me a 5. Brandon was great, I like him a lot, 5-star. Like, but if somebody pops in and they get to see who I am based on this, and they can get lost, for the lack of a better term, Wayne Purser, the spider web, right? Getting lost in the spider web of stories that you have told, and it just accumulates and gets people the opportunity to come in and take a look. Again, how to use podcast to create authority, let them know who you are. So know, like, and trust. This will get people, again, to know, like, and trust you based on what you are sharing with them. So this is why I think a podcast can be so beneficial, is that people are going, when you do online lead gen, especially for buyers, what happens? Somebody goes in and goes, Salt Lake City homes for sale. They Google it. Awesome. Let's look at these ones. Oh, I got to put my email in. They put their email in. The next day they come back. They don't remember what site they logged into. So they go, take it back. Google Salt Lake City homes for sale. And they do that. And by the time you get them, they may have been on 6 different sites, because most people aren't giving them anything other than, hey, here's a search. Where on your site, if you had a podcast there and they go, I don't know how many times this has happened to you, happened to me multiple times. Hey, potential buyer, I noticed that you're on my site. I was wondering if there's anything I can help you with. What site was that again? Because they've been on those other 6. Well, now if you have something like, the site with a podcast, or you can get them to get to know you and actually reach out to you because of that podcast. They're not going to reach out to you other than luck if they find the home that they like. It just happens to be the one that they landed on. Again, you can, to differentiate yourself, you can create an affinity with clients. They get to know who you are. Again, 3 a.m., they're finding out who you are, and they go, I like what this person is doing. And one of the stories that I'll share, how this makes sense is, so episode 155 for my Learn for Two podcast, I was struggling with whether or not I was going to share it. So my son has had before COVID, he had a major battle with anxiety as far as getting into school. That is easily my most popular podcast. I've had people reach out to me and they're like, oh, I had this issue. Hey, he'll get through it. People I've never met before, but they wanted to reach out and let me know because I created that affinity with them. Again, these are touches on their terms. Jeff knows how I feel about door knocking and cold calling. Not a fan at all. And the main reason, not saying it doesn't work. If you guys do that, good for you. I don't like it because I'm asking.
Oh,
Where'd Brandon go?
So it wasn't just me. He didn't freeze just on mine, and you guys don't see him either.
yeah, he froze.
He might have lost connection.
That was a perfect cliffhanger.
Right. His phone went right to voicemail, so I'll see if I can't grab him. That'd be funny if he's just sitting there talking. Well, while we're waiting for Brandon to come back, anybody got anything they want to run by this awesome group of realtors we got on this call right now? Anybody got a deal or a challenge they're working on?
I want to ask about the podcast thing. So obviously, a lot of people are jumping on that. How professional would you guys say, and if anybody can ask this, do you think you need to go? Because I want to do a podcast, but I'm afraid, like, oh, people aren't going to think it's professional. The quality's not going to be good enough. People don't want to see me in my at-home office. But I mean, should I just get going? Is it worth?
Yes. So what Brandon will say several times during this presentation is done is better than perfect. He says that all the time, and that's what kind of got him going, is just moving forward, small incremental steps. You're going to get better. But along those same lines, a lot of people compare themselves to a really polished podcaster that's been doing for a long time. And what you need to do, Jordan, is you need to compare yourself to their first episode. So you can kind of see their journey, because everybody's first attempt isn't what they're super proud of as they, move forward. So that's my take on that.
The other thing
I record my podcast. I record my podcast from my car with ear pods. I'm 9 out of 10 or in the car. Yep. I let them know, hey, this is Wayne. You're in the car with me, unedited, raw. Let's talk content. And if you hear the car coming by, and I do that so I don't have to make a delay. So I take Brandon's advice and just do it. And so I purposely tell them, this isn't perfect. I'm in the car. I got AirPods in. So yeah, go for it.
Wayne, along those lines, I've also heard that if it's too polished, it just doesn't seem as authentic. You've got to have some pauses and some mix-ups and repeats in there, or it's just more real, right? If it's super polished and edited and you've got the fades just perfect and all of that kind of stuff, it's not as relatable to the average person. So I think that's something to keep in mind too. Jordan is just like, for one, done is better than perfect, but also too perfect can also maybe not make you connect as much with that authenticity factor with your people.
And then the second follow-up question is, how do you get it onto the platforms? It's pretty easy to upload to Spotify, Apple. I mean, I've never done it. So can you walk us through those steps?
Yeah, he's actually going to do that. He mentioned the app that he uses, Anchor. I'm pretty sure he's going to do a quick demo of it. I've seen his presentation before, and he literally records and uploads and hits publish, and it's super, super fast, super easy. So yeah, I'm sure he's showing that. He says he's trying to get back on.
Awesome. Can't wait.
cool thing with Anchor too is it really is plug and play. You create your account and you literally can be publishing that day.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also will let you do ad spots. So you can record ad spots right on it and create revenue from it.
Can you guys hear Dave talking, what he was just saying?
Nope.
You're a little bit further away from the mic, or the mic.
So I was just saying, Anchor is really cool. I've been using it for a couple of years now. And it really is just plug and play. You create the account, you pick which platforms you want it to go to. And then as soon as the episode's recorded, like it'll even let you record and edit your episode right in the software. And then as soon as it's published, it just pushes it out to all the platforms. So it's really easy. And then it also allows you to add in your own ad spots so you can use your podcast to generate revenue.
Awesome. Does anybody else on this call besides Wayne Sutton have a podcast that they already put out? That's why you're all here, right? To kind of see if that's something you
Dave
want to
Deal.
pursue.
Dave Deal, are you on?
Yeah, I'm sitting across the table from Jeff.
Yeah, Dave's actually right here. That was him just talking just a minute ago. You just don't see his name or his video up there.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, he has a podcast. He just texted me the link, so you should definitely talk about that. Get everybody following that, Dave.
Yeah, I can just kind of put it in the chat. Oh. Yeah, email.
I have a quick question if I can.
Go ahead, Sherry.
My question is he going to go over anything at all to do with like research to target specific audiences?
That's definitely something we can bring up. I know he knows a bit on that. I don't know if it's part of this presentation, but that's something that, a great question to ask if he doesn't go there, Sherry, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, hang tight, guys. Hopefully he's going to be able to be back here shortly. Says he's trying. I'm not sure what the hang up is. All right, there's Dave Deal's podcast. I just put that in the chat. If you guys want to check out that, he uses the same program Brandon's talking about. As Brandon was kind of going through that first slide, talking about Anchor and how easy it is to record and then publish. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Dave's head bobbing up and down, going, yep. And then he chimed up and said, "That's the exact way I do mine." So,
Dave, how much does that cost?
It's free. I haven't put any money into the podcast other than buying the microphone, and I just use Zoom to record everything. And then, like Brandon talked about, I split the audio and the video so I can repurpose the content.
and he's going to go over kind of like some mics and the stuff he uses as well. Very cost effective. You don't need anything fancy.
Mm-hmm.
Like Wayne says, he does his from his car with his AirPods on.
Yeah, AirPods work perfect.
And I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but it doesn't cost to post on Spotify and Apple. Like those are free to upload your stuff there as well.
Correct.
Yeah, so Anchor's where you'll create it, and then the syndication is just that. It's gonna throw it out there for you to those other places. So,
So cool. I'm mind blown right now. I always thought a podcast cost a ton of money. But this is awesome.
In the past, you had to pay for the application that would syndicate it. But when Anchor came out, it was like this revolutionary thing that made it really easy and simple for anybody to do it.
So while we're waiting, hopefully you guys can hear Dave good. Brandon's still not on. So since Dave has a little bit of experience with the podcasting, I mean, what did you start with as far as getting your first one up?
Let's go back to episode 1 and look. I think it was just talking and introducing my ideas. Really.
Jeff, can you hear me?
Yes, Sherry, we can hear you.
Jeff, can you hear me?
Our speakers in. Anyway, so when I started it, it was just, okay, I want to go interview a bunch of people, but when I started, I was scared, and I just said, you know what, like, who cares? I don't know who's going to listen to this, but in theory, this could be my legacy to my kids, even in my family, and that's really what drove all of the episodes, and it gave me a totally different perspective, because when I thought, hey, you know, if I died, my kids have hundreds of episodes of me talking and interviewing different people and, you know, having these really neat conversations. They can get to know me through this platform, and it made it that much easier to start it and continue it. But yeah, it's really easy. I mean, you just pick a topic and go for it.
You know what I love about that, Dave, is you have the point behind your podcast. And what I've heard Brandon say, and I've heard others say, is you can't be worried about who's going to relate with your content. Like, pick that avatar. For Dave, it sounds like it's his kids. I'm telling this story because I want my kids to read it someday. I know Brandon does that too. He's real big on legacy. He wants to leave something behind. He wants his kids to know how he thought and felt about things and his approach to the world. And I love that. But to simplify it down, Jordan, if you're going to do one, not everybody's going to resonate with you, right? I mean, half the people like us, half the people hate us, right? And so that's just the way life is. So just pick your avatar, or like, say, a client or a person in your life that you're speaking to, and just talk to them. Some people will resonate with it, some people won't. That's my advice from somebody that doesn't do a podcast.
Well, no, Jeff, on that same note, is that what you'll find is that there's people, it filters out the people that aren't your people too. So if you're trying to please everybody, you're going to have a terrible podcast. But when you have, and you're just going to be like, oh, let everybody in the doors and then we'll decide later. What it does is it gets the people there's people out there. I just had a guy that messaged me earlier today, like 10 minutes before we started. It was like, I love your posts, and it happens to be on Facebook or Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. But for every one of those, how many are those out there that I go, this guy's an idiot? Well, the beauty is I don't have to talk to those guys that think I'm an idiot. I don't have to try and convince them that I'm not. And when we talk about like lead gen, like online lead gen for real estate, when I first started doing online lead gen, it was like 3 to 5%. You're doing pretty good. Now it's like 2%. And why do I want to talk to 100 people to get 2 that are going to work out? I would rather dwindle that down and have people go, oh, well, maybe there's 12 people or 15 to get to that, to get to those 2. And with putting yourself out there, you're going to get people. I will tell you this right now, everyone, there's people out there that don't like you. My favorite movie is Dumb and Dumber. There's people that don't like Dumb and Dumber. There may be somebody on this call that doesn't like Dumb and Dumber. I think it's hilarious, but and so did like millions of other people, but not everyone is going to like you. And this is an easy way to never know if they want to talk to you or not. So,
well, it takes the thought process out of it too, Brandon. If you're constantly thinking how to word things instead of being your authentic self and just be Brandon, right? Mm-hmm. It makes it less challenging, and you're not trying to be something for somebody. I agree with what you said completely. The people that resonate with you will resonate with you, and those are your people. Those are going to become your raving fans. The same way in real estate with our clients, right? How often do you hear that people use you if they know, like, and trust you, right? And then, as they say in ninja selling, and if you're in flow with them, you have to keep in contact with them. And a podcast would be a great way to do that. Okay, Brandon, I'm going to shut up and it's back to you. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, sorry about that. what a disaster. But yeah, the other benefit of that too is that you're going to get those people, not just the people that don't like you aren't going to contact you, but the people who do like you, when they're ready to go, they're ready to go. They've already created that affinity as we talked about earlier. So here we go. Enough of the stats and things like that. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what a podcast is by this point. But so what you'll need is essentially like the top two is the Anchor app, and you need a microphone. Now your microphone can be this that came with your phone. You can use that. You can talk directly into your phone, or you can get a mic. Like this one is my favorite. I got this because I was doing an interview-based podcast to begin with, and I was doing them on location. This is the AR-2100. The reason I like it is because it has, not only does it have the XLR, which is your normal, which would normally like go into a mixer and things like that, and the recording hardware that I was using, but also has a USB. So you can literally just plug it in to your computer and record. That is what I'm using right now. And kind of a funny story behind this, and one of the questions that I get nonstop is what mic do I need? What mic do I need? I just gave you 3 options that you can use, and you don't necessarily need anything better than that, because this class is to talk about getting you off the ground, not having, hanging out with Joe Rogan and all that stuff. I mean, you can get there and build on that, but this is just the core piece of that. So
Can you drop those in the description, like the names of those mics again?
Yeah. So do you want me to
Chat
put in the
box,
chat?
I guess. Yeah, the chat. Sorry.
Yeah. So here, I'll get it here in a second. So basically it's ATR 2100, and that's just Audio Technica. But I use that just because that's what I use. But Jeff, I don't know if you realize this, but while I was doing that year of podcast, we happened to be in Puerto Vallarta together, right? So I needed to record my episodes because I was there. So one of the things in addition to that question, I'll come back to another thing here in a second. But in addition to that question, I also get people that ask me, how often should I do it? And all I say is, how consistent can you be? If you're gonna do it every 2 weeks, do it every 2 weeks. If you're going to say you're gonna do it 5 days a week, like I did, do it 5 days a week. But don't hammer out 5 episodes in 1 week and then not do anything for 2 months and then put one out a month, because you're going to lose your momentum and people are going to want to hear. I do recommend that you have 3 to 5 done before you make it live, so that people can go ahead and just in binge. Just everyone does it we just did it with Queen's Gambit. Like everyone wants to watch it all at once. Now we got Cobra Kai on deck. So it's not just like, hey, I'll watch this and then wait another week or wait another month. They can get into it right away and then know that you're coming out with one in a week or two. So there's no real rules on that. Same thing with, what type of podcast you're going to have. I don't like to keep it strictly real estate related, because in my market, it's typically every 5 to 7 years that people are buying and selling homes. So now my audience, I'm only relevant to my audience every 5 to 7 years. So if I have other stuff that they can come back and tune into, knowing that I still sell real estate, then they can continue and come back and listen to the podcast. The other thing is managing expectations. So back to the story I was going to say, when we were in Puerto Vallarta, I was on the beach recording podcasts directly to my phone, because that's all you needed, or all you need. And I just say, hey, this is Brandon DeVere coming to you from Studio O, the ocean. So now when everybody hears the waves crashing in the background, they know, what is that noise? They don't have to figure it out. So now they can listen to the content that's being provided. So episode 224 of my podcast, and I created this one because I had so many people, when you ask what mic is needed, and I say whatever one you have available, is it going to prevent you from starting your podcast because you don't have the right mic? That's right. That's where I say, go listen to episode 224. The night before episode 224, I got on Facebook Marketplace. I typed in USB mic, and the next morning I went and picked it up. I paid $5 for it, and I recorded an episode on it with this mic here that says Disney on it. Obviously for some game, but the point is, I want to make the point that your message is stronger than the equipment that you're using. So when you're delivering the message, if they can hear it, like most everything we have to even your phone right now is available to you. The mic is perfectly fine. Now, if you want to get go get your own like studio and do all that stuff, not saying not to do it. Again, this is how you get started, is just go, you don't got to be like anybody ever play beer league softball and you got the guy that shows up with the $400 bat, like all this gear. He hasn't played in like 20 years and he still sucks. Like gear's not going to help him out. Right. So you don't need to make this massive investment. And that's what this class, why I chose to create this class in the way it is that everyone can start this as soon as we're done and start going. Here's some optional things you can do. Royalty-free music that you can have for your intros and outros. You can go grab these here. Editing software, if you want to do certain things like intros and outros, there. Canva, image sites for when you want to post or get photos for everything, for your art cover, and also Bitly, where you can shorten the URL so you can share it with people.
Hey guys, and if you didn't take a picture of that screen or whatever, reach out to me later. Brandon shared his slide deck with me, so we'll get that posted too.
So I'm trying to catch up here for the time we lost. So here, basically right here, this is what Anchor looks like when you download it. You can literally record directly into it, and that's what I was doing. Or you can record something and just upload it. So you'll get your own site. Like this would be your site. Something like this. This is artwork that I made. I was doing it for a class for loan officers. But when you go in here to record your own episode, like when you first download this, it's free. Your account's free. And you can actually get paid depending on if you want to do advertisements and things like that. So basically, the first episode is published because I already done this. But this will give you a checklist as you go down it. What you need. So here, if I want to edit this podcast, so you type in, I don't know what's a good name. So it's I Love Dogs podcast, right? So you put your name in there. And then you'll have your podcast description, use keywords, that's a different class. But then you want to update your cover art. So you can go upload your image, or if you wanted to go create it, the one I created was in Canva. But if I wanted to, in here, search for a photo and see, let's just put in dogs. So if I want to do this little champion dog, I would just keep that, continue. And this is what the thumbnail would show up as your artwork. Again, you can create your own, but you don't need to. This one still hasn't updated to the I Love Dogs podcast, but it will. And then you can change. So you're pretty limited on what you can do here. But again, you don't necessarily need to use this if you're going to use Canva. You can center, top, bottom, change the color and update the cover art. So that's how easy it is to get your cover art done. If you want to go to Fiverr, have somebody create something for you, super easy. I wouldn't spend a ton of time on it. Just getting it out, you can always update it. So So here is basically your custom URL. Here, you can connect your Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook all to come to this link, and that will be your website that I showed you earlier. That you can do on here. You can actually include voice messages link in your episode descriptions. I actually had my high school football coach left me a message on here like 2 months ago, and I was just laughing because it was pretty cool. But if you're going here, when you can do this for each episode. And just make sure that you hit clean or explicit. If you say anything in each episode that may be considered, make sure you hit explicit. I have a friend that got his knocked off of Apple because he said like "damn it" or something like that, and it wasn't marked as explicit. Somebody turned him in for some reason. So that's where you would go and just create your description and your art. And then what we'll do is go create new episode. This is how easy it is. Like I have my intro and outro already pre-recorded. So all I have to do is go from my library to set them in here. But if I wanted to, I could just go in here and record something brand new. So I would just go here, what mic? So I have the ATR USB, and I would do something like this. Hey guys, welcome back to the I Love Dogs podcast. I love dogs, you love dogs, we all love dogs. Great. Enjoy your dogs. Have a great day. So you would do whatever, that would be your whatever your episode is about, or you can go in and record it somewhere else and upload it directly to here. And they recently, within about 6 months ago, added to where you can put your MP4 file in here and it will extract the audio. So if you're doing a YouTube video, you can go straight to audio and it'll pull it out right here. So now we're just going to add to episodes. So this is the episode builder, and hopefully you guys can hear this. And I would do something like this. Hey guys, welcome back to the I Love Dogs podcast. I love dogs, you love dogs, we all love dogs. Great. Enjoy your dogs. Have a great day. Okay, so I'm assuming everybody heard that. You can come in here, edit audio, and now I can go exactly to where I want to. And I would do something like this. So now I want to cut that out. So I'll just go here, split, and trash that piece.
We can hear it, Brandon, but it's really quiet because it's
Is it?
playing through
Okay.
your computer. Yeah, but I don't think that's the point, what you're showing us.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna. Yeah, it'll be. I'm not publishing this one, so it's just for training purposes only. So right now it's cutting it down to whatever, me cutting that part off, so you won't hear that. So now here's the new version. Hey guys, welcome back to the I Love Dogs podcast. I love dogs, you love dogs, we all love dogs. Great. Enjoy your dogs. Have a great day. So now you can edit it right here. All I did, that this could be an episode right now, and what I can choose to do is add background music if I want, and we'll go do something cheerful because we love dogs. So that's whatever it is. So I'm going to add that, and now watch when I apply it. It will take a second here, and you'll see that this the new version. So this is 5 seconds, right? What I just did. And now they'll probably add so they added 10 seconds. So now if I want to do my intro right in here, I could do that same thing. Now it's automatically added that music, right? This is like zero tech work at all for you to create an intro or have music underneath what you're doing. So here's the new version that they did. And I would do something like this. Hey guys, welcome back to the I Love Dogs podcast. I love dogs, you love dogs, we all love dogs. Great. Enjoy your dogs. Have a great day. So it just automatically puts it in there, so you don't have to go mess around with like ScreenFlow or Camtasia or anything like that. You can, once this is done, it will save into the library. So if I wanted to come back, and we'll name this one intro. Now, anytime I want to, I can just add this to anything. So that would be the intro. And then if I wanted to record my new episode, it would basically go like this. Yes, today's topic is about the top treats to give your dog and how to make them sit quickly. Thank you. So now, if you just take this, so you just build each one, all you're doing is building by just adding it. And you can do this from your phone as well, where you're building it from the app. But we'll add this, and once it's done, it will automatically go in. So it'll go through, I'll skip part of it. So yes, today's topic is about the top treats to give your dog and how to make them sit quickly. Thank you. So now you can have your intro, you plug in what your podcast is about. You can change your intro every time if you want. And then you just do your outro. And I would recommend having some sort of call to action, whether it's to, for your real estate service, or maybe you have a lead magnet, maybe you have a PDF that you're giving out, things like that. And then once it's done, you basically just save the episode, title what it is, write what it's about, and then you can schedule when you want to publish it. I can wait until the 28th, publish it on the 28th at noon. I can change the time as well. And then when I go publish, this I do see. My seasons were every 100. I did one season, but you can change it however you want there. If I were to swear in this one, I would hit explicit just to be, you know, I'm not saying go out in there and like Samuel L. Jackson all over the place, but you know, if you do, because that's part of who you are, right? If you do tend to swear a bunch, then just make sure that they know what they're having. So this hasn't quite updated yet on this part, but it will. And then once that is, you're published, and then you just go to your dashboard. And if you want to share it, since this isn't published quite yet, you can't see it here. But you just go in here and your episodes would be all right here. So what I did is I just got a URL, learnfor2.com. Anybody wants to learn about my podcast, instead of telling them, hey, you can go find it on Stitcher or Overcast or Apple Podcasts, I just send them to, hey, learnfor2.com, and they'll come here. It'll drop right here, and all my episodes will be laid out right here. So that's, anybody have any questions? That's pretty much as simple as it is.
Brandon in the chat, Jesse said that this just became so realistic. She pictured needing so much tech software to do anything semi-appealing for listeners. I think that's probably what holds a lot of people back, right? Is the false expectations of how difficult it's going to be.
Yeah, 100%. And if I were to teach a class the way that I learned how to do it, I think people would be like, yeah, not doing it. Like this, the way that I structured this and how easy it is the course that I built and I submitted to this coaching company was 46 minutes. So I know that you can learn to do a podcast in 46 minutes. And here well, obviously I got kicked off, but now we're at 11:51 even. I brushed over a couple things, but it's that simple to go. Like, I was on the beach recording a podcast, like Studio O, the ocean. Sometimes, you know, especially in COVID, I'm in Studio B, the car, often, because I got, you know, my son on the other side of the wall here doing PE at home, where he's doing silly little backflips off the couch or something, you know. So when it makes it just so easy that when I'm at a soccer game, I can go, oh, we got to get the podcast in for the day, and just mention it, or just pick it up or on your app and do it there. I like to do it at home. I feel a little bit more comfortable, but when I need to, I can do it wherever. And don't let, like Jesse said, like the tech and software, everything, that Anchor platform, and you can build on this as well. And I don't want anybody to think that, like, oh, my podcast isn't good enough because Joe Rogan gets 3 million downloads per episode. Yeah, I'm only like 2,995,900 behind him, right? Because what you're trying to do is reach your people.
You know, Brandon, on those lines too, I was just talking to Dave about my website. It's like, I don't really have my website set up to be that big lead generator website where I'm trying to get traffic to it, but it exists specifically for when people search for me or my team or Lynn or whatever. What are they going to find? And I see the same thing being of benefit with this. It's like, you may not have an audience or the numbers or people listening to every episode you're putting out, but when they do meet you and they want to check you out and see if you're a good match to work together, they're going to be able to find it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And try this next time you're at a barbecue, or if I'm not sure if you guys can go out anymore, but you know, when somebody asks you what you do, hey, what do you do? Well, do a split testing. The next 5 say you're a real estate agent, and the next 5 say that you're a podcast host. And just watch what they do. Oh, you want to learn a little bit more about me? Go to Learn for 2 podcast. Oh, I actually just talked about that the other day. Check it out. Oh, your son's having trouble with anxiety. Oh, episode 155. Go check it out. Like, we just had this. And what I did with mine was I incorporated, which is funny because that story with him doing that, I had a previous story, which was like running a team and my son going onto the playground. In kindergarten, the playground was like right there. In first grade, he had to run like 100 yards to get to his spot and go on the playground. So the first few days of school, he's like, are you going to wait for me to get there, Dad? And I'm like, yeah. So the first day he ran, took a couple steps, looked back, make sure I was still there, a couple steps, couple steps. The next day he ran a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. And then I just incorporated that, you know, eventually, just like your team needs to know that you'll be there, even if they don't see you, then, you know, just like my son needed to know that I was there. Same thing with your team. So you can incorporate your business and everything that you do personally as well. But to your point, it's a great spot to send people to if they don't, it's there, it's collected. And I heard Dave say earlier that he used it as a journal. His podcast is a journal, and that's exactly what I've done with this one as well. Because, you know, my mom passed away when I was 18. She pretty much didn't know who I was from the time I was 12. Like, how awesome would that be if I found one of her, like a letter that she wrote or a journal that she kept from like some random Saturday in July of 1984 to just know what she was thinking. Like, now my kids not only will have the opportunity to go listen to this whenever, but also I want them to know, because I've changed my mind and my position on things throughout that whole 271 episodes. So it's okay to like change your mind. So that, I think that's awesome what Dave is doing, because that was my idea as well going into this.
I have two questions for you, Brandon, if I may.
Absolutely.
So the first question is there like any tools or anything that you use to like research what, like targeting a specific audience? That's the first question. Second question is, how much do you mix like professional and personal content? Is it kind of like a 60-40 or what kind of a mix do you use?
It's probably closer to 80-20. Just because it's also define what it is that you want to do as well. So my end goal isn't necessarily getting more clients to sell real estate to. So my end goal is much further down. So there will be things that split off from my real estate business. So I do try to keep it 80-20 because I want people to join me in what I'm doing because of me. Now someone who's trying to get real estate leads like right away, you may want to do a little bit more. I wouldn't oversaturate it with, oh, here comes another post from Sherry talking about real estate again. Like you just don't want to fatigue people by, okay, we get it, you're a real estate agent, we get it, you sold another home, there's a photo of you in front of somebody's house again. You know, but if you can make it to where you share a story of why selling that home was so important, as opposed to, hey, just another stat that, hey, guess what? I helped 28 families this year. Okay, what does that mean to somebody who's listening to it, right? So that's what I would do there. There are a couple different things. I haven't used much of these, but there is, I saw somebody that had mentioned, I think it was TubeBuddy, and that was for YouTube, where you could find out what people are searching, like certain keywords for that, for SEO, and like what you would put in to find your certain audience. But I don't have anything that I use offhand. So sorry about that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions for Brandon?
And if anybody needs help, like one-on-one setting anything up, just let me know. I think most everybody has my number in here, right? Or if not, I'll put
Most
it in
everybody, you can reach out to me. You can type it in the chat real quick, Brandon, if everybody wanted to copy it.
Yeah, just shoot me a text and then we can get on and I'll do a Zoom call with you and kind of walk you through to set it up. It's super easy. I probably wouldn't be doing a podcast anymore if I was doing it the old way. It would just took way too much time.
Cool, Brandon. Appreciate you, man. That was all good content. You had a little hiccup in the middle there, but I think I'm actually kind of getting used to them. I mean, stuff happens.
Well, I just did a post the other day about these two books, because I was in a funk the other day. But these two books, they say the same thing. One is the BS and one is the resistance. And it's always like when things are going well, because I was thinking that too. I was like, okay, perfect. Got on, no problem. And then all of a sudden, boom. And then my whole internet and the whole house went out. So
oh, wow.
Good.
So you got things restarted. Okay, guys, last chance. Oh, I'm gonna switch the screen here in just a second. Again, appreciate you, Brandon. I'm gonna try and share my screen now so we can move on to the second segment. It looks